Around midnight, I heard a scary noise. I looked through the window and I saw that there was a torrent of water, at least 50 to 60 centimeters deep.
At least 117 people are now confirmed dead as a result of flooding in parts of Germany and Belgium. Hundreds more are still unaccounted for. Leaders are blaming the flooding on climate change and warn if something isn't done, similar extreme weather incidents like this could happen again.
German city of Koblenz is unrecognizable. Over the course of 48 hours, water has become omnipresent. These riverbanks have all but disappeared, while floating road signs are rendered useless. 100 kilometers northeast lies the city of Erfstadt, where this devastated road is now a gushing stream. Nearby, several houses are at risk of collapse, the police doing what they can to keep people out of harm's way. While a little further south in Euskirchen, a dam is threatening to give way. This region is no stranger to bad weather, but the sheer violence of this flooding has shocked everyone. Dozens of people have been killed. Some 1,300 are unaccounted for. Confronted with one of the country's worst natural disasters in decades, the federal government has promised emergency aid to all affected states. In neighbouring Belgium, in Liège, the country's fourth largest city, similar scenes of chaos, authorities describing the flooding as exceptional. On Thursday, all residents living near the River Meuse were told to evacuate. The muddy water is everywhere, with locals determined to do what they can to protect their homes. Meanwhile, in the sky, helicopters continue to circle in the hope of finding people to rescue.
Scores of people have now died in Germany after some of the country's worst flooding in decades. Hundreds more are still unaccounted for after rivers burst their banks following record rainfall in Western Europe. New drone footage has revealed the extent of the devastation, which Chancellor Angela Merkel has described as a catastrophe. Many homes have been left destroyed, hundreds of thousands of houses are without power, and numerous cars have been washed away by the sheer power of the floodwaters. In the western city of Wuppertal, there are fears the dam there could burst. Torrential rain has led to flooding in neighbouring Belgium too. And just as it is in Germany, the death toll there is also sadly rising.
This is what residents in storm-battered parts of Germany woke up to. as record rainfall caused major rivers to burst their banks. A view from the air, showing the full extent of the devastation. In the states of Rhineland-Palatinate and North Rhine-Westphalia,
Oh my God!
cars were tossed around like toys in the rising waters.
Oh no!
Homes and businesses washed away. As the flooding in some areas recedes, the death toll rises, with several people still missing. Rescue efforts are on the way to bring the stranded to safety. In villages cut off by floodwater and landslides, helicopters pluck people from their rooftops. Over the border in neighboring Belgium, floodwaters rip through villages, submerging homes.
Around midnight, I heard a scary noise. I looked through the window and I saw that there was a torrent of water, at least 50 to 60 centimeters deep.
And in the Netherlands, several care homes were evacuated, with some local residents driven by tractor to safety. People here have really been taken by surprise. They've never seen so much water inundating their cities and driving them away from their homes. Extreme wet weather has been paralyzing large parts of this border region here between Belgium, Germany and the Netherlands. More torrential rain is forecast, and with it, fears of further devastation. It's been called a once-in-a-generation flood, and it isn't over yet.
Tu vois, il y a de nouveau un effondrement. Il y a le muur qui... Heb je het gezien daar links? Daar rechts, daar is juist de muur weggekletst.
The death toll now over 170 and climbing, mostly in Germany and Belgium. They are casualties of the catastrophic climate crisis scientists long predicted.
Marilla, for those most affected, there was the shock of the floods, then the shock when they returned home.
On a flooded stretch of a German highway today, the military and firefighters were searching for bodies. 3 days after the deadly floods, there are still no reliable figures on how many people are actually missing and how many simply can't be reached. But there is no doubt the death toll will go up. Some areas are still inaccessible due to high water levels. Elsewhere, bridges were destroyed and communication is still down. But the waters are receding in much of the affected regions, laying bare the extent of the damage. Almost nothing on the ground floor of these homes stood a chance.
We're about 40 to 50 meters away from the river, and on Wednesday night, as the water rapidly and violently swept through this town, look how high the water rose.
Financial aid promised by the government cannot come soon enough.
This campsite, located on the banks of a tributary of the Meuse, the water has not yet completely receded.
Oui, jusqu'à où c'était monté.
Seeming lost in this desolate landscape, Monique and Amélie are still seeing the extent of the damage.
C'est la caravane d'en face qui est venue pousser mon chalet.
Here, several bodies were found lifeless. The floods gave few chances for the inhabitants of these fragile constructions.
Découragé, découragé. Il faut tout recommencer à zéro.
On reprend tout, on redémarre.
A little further, in a district of the city of Liège, an entire café literally fell into the river.
Ils sont en train de la démonter de manière un petit peu chirurgicale, comme ils disent, parce que ils ont peur que, d'une manière ou d'une autre, toutes les autres maisons partent derrière.
In Angleux, Mirella and her daughter tried to save a few things, and especially to forget that terrifying night when the water rose toward the floor where they had taken shelter.
Mes angoisses, c'était que l'eau monte
dans les chambres.
Oui, dans les chambres et de plus en plus. Et voilà, et j'avais peur. J'avais aussi tous mes souvenirs d'école et de maternelle.
When the water started to rise, Tony rushed into his instrument shop to try and save his very old collectible accordions, without success.
C'est malheureux, mais enfin, l'important c'est de rester en vie, parce que bon, le restant, c'est du matériel, c'est vrai, c'est passé, c'est passé.
4 houses further, her neighbor lost her life on the ground floor.
This sewing machine store was completely overwhelmed. Its manager estimates that he has lost 80% of his equipment.
Vous savez, le domaine des machines à coudre Et on a des milliers de pièces. Et ils sont tous noyés dans l'eau, donc c'est rouillé, quoi. C'est parti, quoi. C'est fini.
No more books and games. Anglers school children will not find them at the start of the school year. Like the many memories these inhabitants must now give up.
Also in den letzten Tagen ist viel passiert. Feuerwehr, Bundeswehr hat toll geholfen. Und Step by Step kommen wir ein Stück weiter. Es sah schon schlimmer aus, die Müllberge liegen jetzt überall. Aber das nächste größere Problem sind die Müllberge des Haushaltsmüll. Es stinkt überall. Es sind ja verdorbene Kühlschrankinhalte, Gefrierschrankinhalte. Und die Leute wissen nicht mehr, wohin damit. Wir haben Corona bewältigt, aber wenn wir jetzt die Bakterien und die Viren und die Ratten hier hinkriegen, das ist unser Problem. Deswegen muss als nächstes das Müllproblem gelöst werden.
Patrzę, podchodzę znowu do głównego nurtu, czyli do ulicy Barskiej. Pomału pozwolę sobie zakończyć tą dramatyczną relację.
Походу у нас тут лопнул асфальт вообще, прям куски едут.
А куди ви пливете? Тьотя, куди ти поплила?
This has been a Cat in a Mirror production 2021.